So, welcome. My name is Sarah Brissenden Smith. I'm a partner with Impact Media Partners, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to this special live event featuring preview footage from the powerful new film Facing the Wind, coming to PBS stations nationwide in June. Today, we will have a live panel discussion with leading experts from the Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center and CarkingKind, joined by film subject and caregiver advocate CARLA Preyer and filmmaker Deirdre Fishel, moderated by TERRENCE CASEY from Penn Memory Center. We encourage you to share your questions for our panel during this event using either the chat or the Q&A features, as we'll have an opportunity to take some of your questions later in the discussion. At this time, to start us off, we'll watch a brief trailer for Facing the Wind.
I give you my love.
I give you my love.
As long as we both shall live.
As long as we both shall live.
The goofy side of him, the fun, that had disappeared.
We promised each other that we would take care of each other.
He is my knight in shining armor. Now he's not who he was, so it's just really hard.
It took 4 years to get a diagnosis, and I had to fight for that diagnosis. It was Lewy body dementia.
When I read the lab report, I was scared.
People live 5 to 7 years. What are we supposed to do in the meantime?
I have a question real quick.
We started support groups because we all felt so isolated. Sadly, we know what we're all going through.
Yeah. Hey, I gotta step out a minute.
Okay.
My husband's walking down the street.
Go get him, go get him.
I just got diagnosed this past June, and like a switch turned on in my brain, like a suicidal impulse.
Let me see a show of hands. Who all has ever contemplated suicide? Yeah, see, you're not alone in anything you're going through, man. You're not.
Okay, come on, let's go to the back. He, being the proud man he is, come on. He definitely would have never chosen this for either one of us.
This is my it's not fair cry.
Let's get in the RV and go.
Yeah.
We're gonna go and visit people in the support group on the way.
Hey, there he is. What do you know?
Finally, at last.
Good to meet you.
You doing okay? I am now.
He started having more agitation.
What is that?
You're tired. We need to figure out how to get you comfortable in the back.
I want to go home.
Our friends and family, they look at us, oh, they're so strong. They doing this and they doing that. But yeah, I'm literally crumbling inside.
I don't think I can keep doing this 21st. I'm not as strong as some of the women in the group.
Hello, ladies! Oh my goodness! Girls trip, cheaper than therapy.
That was good.
One, two, three.
Boy, even if you've seen that video, the whole film a few times, the trailer really still gets to you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Terrence Casey. I'm the Director of Communications and Outreach at the Penn Memory Center at the University of Pennsylvania and the Editorial Director of the Age of Aging podcast. And at our center and on our show, we're very interested in the intersection of science and policy, but also the deeply personal experience of dementia and the diseases that cause it. And this film takes such a hard look at the caregiver myth and the idea that family members have to be perfect, tireless saints. And it's why I'm so honored to be here today. This Facing the Wind shows us that caregivers are not superheroes, but real people riding a roller coaster caused by Lewy body dementia. And to help us kind of navigate through this discussion, we've pulled 3 clips from the film that will anchor our discussion today. And after each clip, I'm going to ask our panel of experts and advocates to help us sort of unpack the emotional and clinical reality of each. But before we get to that, it is my true honor to turn it over to Deirdre Fishel, the filmmaker of Facing the Wind.
Hi, well, everybody, thank you so much for being here. And after watching how powerfully the film resonates with audiences at film festivals and community events, where literally sometimes people didn't want to stop talking after the Q&A, it is the greatest pleasure of producer Tony Hariza and I that the film will finally be coming to public television audiences this June. June, which is Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month. While Alzheimer's is the most common form of Lewy body dementia, of dementia, Lewy body dementia is the second most common. And as you saw in the trailer, it affects 1.4 million Americans. That's more Americans than have HIV, ALS, and muscular dystrophy combined. And yet too many people still don't know about the disease and kind of are like, Lewy who? Public television exposure will bring widespread awareness to this disease. And that really matters because early diagnosis is key to helping people with LBD live as fully as possible. But Facing the Wind is ultimately about just what it means to live with progressive dementia, and even more, what it means to care for someone with the disease. Caregiving is a beautiful expression of love, but it also takes a tremendous toll. And that toll is revealed through the intimate lives of 3 families in Facing the Wind. It also shows, though, how the community of a unique support group and the friendships that were built in it were an antidote to despair. And that kind of community can be replicated across the country. The families in the film courageously allowed cameras into their homes at a very, very difficult moment. And in so doing, they gave me the privilege of telling a story of raw human struggle and also the most profound tenderness and love. In very divisive times, this is ultimately a story about love. The final thing I want to say is that we have a comprehensive discussion and education guide, a social media toolkit, and an electronic press kit on our website, facingthewind.com. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Deirdre. All right, we're going to turn it over to our first clip in just a moment here. I just want to preview it a little bit, and then after the clip, we're going to bring in our panel and we'll introduce them. Just a reminder, if you have questions, you can add them into the chat and we'll try to work them in. Otherwise, this will just be a moderated Q&A. In the first clip, we're going to meet Linda and Jim Zapula, who we saw in the trailer from my neck of the woods, nearby the University of Pennsylvania. And Jim had LBD for 5 years, and they are on a sort of a go-for-broke road trip, hoping to catch Jim on what we call the upside of the LBD roller coaster. But as you could even see in the trailer, the trip proves rather stressful. So why don't we go ahead and show the first clip.
Ready to get some lunch, Mr. B?
Did you sleep, huh? Did you get the sleep?
No.
No?
How many sheep did you count?
Yeah,
I thought you were tired.
I am.
Yeah. Is it not comfortable?
Yeah, not comfortable, and I'm just out of whack.
With the travel, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not in your comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
Somebody in the support group said that there's a wheelchair that I could get you that you can take it over rough terrain if you're having trouble walking. Would you want me to get that?
You?
For you.
No, not for me. I'm gonna stay away from that.
You know, when we were in Shenandoah, you couldn't walk that rough, rocky path.
No.
Yeah, you're tired. We need to figure out how to get you comfortable in the back.
I need to go back. I'll go like this with the wheel and I'll rock you to sleep. Think that'll work?
What do you mean when you say you're out of whack?
I don't know. Just there I am, and it's like can't get away. I can't get away from it.
Yeah. Can lay you on your stomach. This way. Yeah. Are you cold?
Yeah.
All right. Sleep away.
Okay.
All right. Okay?
Can you stay with me?
I'm gonna get car sick.
Okay.
Do you need me to stay with you? Huh?
Okay. We can go now.
I can go now. Are you sure?
Yeah.
All right, Roxy. It's just us. Let's go. He's acting very strange. He asked me if I could stay back there with him. It sounded sad. He sounded like he was a little kid asking Mommy to stay with him. He's very out of sorts today. I'll go back and check on him in a little bit.
All right, welcome back. Before we break down that clip a little bit, I'd like to invite the panelists for today. So our panel today, I'm very excited to welcome Norma, Pamela, and Carla. I'll start with Norma. Norma Loeb is a founder and executive director of the Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center. Pamela Edgar is director of education at CarkingKind, a licensed creative art therapist and healthcare leader. And Carla Preyere is a caregiver advocate, speaker, and former salon owner whose life was profoundly reshaped during her husband's 8-year journey with Lewy body dementia. Thank you so much, all three of you, for being here today.
Thank you.
I'd like to just point out first that I'd mentioned the roller coaster. This is a concept we hear a lot in LBD, but before the clip was shown, and how this was meant to try to catch an upside of the roller coaster. Norma, I'd like to start with you and your work as providing resources to families. Do you see families struggle to try to maintain this normalcy after a diagnosis?
Yes, I can tell you that though they may try to maintain, I give Linda and Jim so much credit for trying to travel. So many families wouldn't even attempt it. But those who do or trying to do any activities on a regular basis can become very difficult and a struggle because you want your loved one to feel comfortable and do what they enjoy the most. And you want to help them to do that to the best of their ability. But because of the fluctuations of this disease, and that's key because the other dementias do not have this. There's fluctuations, meaning from day to day, sometimes hour to hour, and you never know how the person may be, which is exactly how it showed about Jim. He was fine early, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. So that becomes the struggle.
And we have a couple of questions. I assume a lot of people are here because they're familiar vaguely with LBD. But for those who aren't and are aware of just of sort of dementia at large, what are some of the hallmarks? What would stand out?
The hallmark symptoms of Lewy body are problems, not necessarily with memory loss at the beginning, though that will happen later, but problems with problem solving and multitasking, which is known as executive function. So problems with using a remote control or something like that, but also symptoms of Parkinson's. And what I mean by that is many people will think that means a tremor in the hand, but they might not have a tremor in the hand. Parkinson's has slow movement, someone shuffling when they walk. So it will be the cognition issues, Parkinson's symptoms, generally speaking, hallucinations of generally starting with small children and children and small animals, but then they can become very frightening hallucinations. There's also a REM sleep disorder, where people, when we're sleeping, where our bodies actually freeze. And so if we're running in our sleep or throwing a ball, our arms and legs are not moving. But when you have a REM behavior disorder, they do. And you can hit the person next to you, you can fall out of the bed. In addition to that, the fluctuations are a huge component, which makes it difficult. And there's a visual spatial component as well, where there's problems with depth perception. So all of that there's physical, mental, emotional, and behavioral problems where with the other dimensions, not necessarily so.
Thank you. And we could fill the whole hour just talking about sort of the clinical background of LBD, but I want to make sure we get to all of our panelists. I do encourage people to check the links in the chat. There's a lot more information about LBD from the Resource Center. Carla, I'd like to turn to you next. You have your own perspective on this. Did you experience that roller coaster feeling of the ups and downs as a caregiver?
Oh, most definitely. Patrick, I believe he had all the Lewy body, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's. And, 1 minute he would be up, the next minute he would be down. I mean, literally like a roller coaster. There was times he knew who I was, and there were times he didn't know. And then it would come back, he would know who I was. But even in the times that he didn't know who I was, he always knew I was someone he could trust. Yeah, I never knew where he was going. There was times that he could use his fork, and then there was times that he couldn't. The energy was always up. But one of the saving grace is music. So that kept him, he loved to dance and sing. And I think that's all across the board for anybody with any type of dementia.
Yeah, we do see that both in the Penn Memory Center clinic, but also in other scenes of this film, sort of the role of music and how even if in individuals who may not be able to express things verbally are still able to express things musically, if you will.
Right, exactly.
Pam, I'd like to turn it to you as well, and looking at sort of the challenges that were part of this film, particularly in travel. I think when we talk about sort of executive function, something like travel requires a great deal of executive function, even if you're the passenger. What's your perspective on the challenges that come from this RV trip, for example, or other trips?
It's interesting because it's so common that people will see the first signs of dementia in themselves or a loved one on trips or at weddings or these big events that sort of disrupt the routine. And as Norma was saying, it's so important to have those life experiences and do those things. But also on the other side of that is disrupting a regular routine can be so difficult, especially for someone with dementia, and especially if it's unknown that they have it. These kinds of trips or life events can bring out more of those symptoms. And as Norma was saying, the symptom profile isn't primarily the memory loss, but those personality changes, those mood changes. I saw in the chat many people spoke about how Linda was interacting with him and how beautifully she was leaning into understanding what he was experiencing or trying to, right? Because he can't articulate it. He knows that something's off, but he can't say why or how. And that's often what happens. And so I think this really also points to the importance of caregiver education in understanding the symptoms and the progression and the profiles of Lewy body dementia and other dementias so they know what to expect. You see Linda trying to understand, leaning in. She's not getting impatient. She's not blaming him, right? She's not saying, why are you doing this again? You were fine 10 minutes ago. What's happening, right? And these things are so important because if you don't understand this condition, if you don't understand what this looks like, it's very easy to take it personally or to get impatient. And even when you do understand, it's easy to get impatient, right? I love what you said. Caregivers are real people. And this movie shows that so beautifully. So it is that, the routine is important, but also understanding, having caregiver education is really crucial.
And I think a subtle moment that stood out to me in that is not just how she respects him and handles him, but how she sets a boundary when he says, "Can you stay?" And she goes, "It would make me sick, but if you really need it, I can stay there." And that just a very brief moment of self-care in a very challenging situation, I think goes a long way as a caregiver. We did have a couple of questions about the diagnostic process, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because we could spend the whole time on it. But Norma, could you provide any brief tips if people are pursuing a diagnosis or if there are any specific tests that are out there? What should someone do if they're concerned about the symptoms that
I'll
you
say
mentioned?
briefly, there is at this moment still no specific test for Lewy body, but there are tests that can be done. PET scan, a DAT scan. There is a skin test right now, and the most important thing for people to do is please see a neurologist, and if you can, see a movement disorder neurologist because they seem to understand it best. The only other physicians that really do understand it are geriatricians, a geriatric psychiatrist, or neuropsychologist. Otherwise, the average doctor they will have heard of it and know nothing about it. Unfortunately, still, we're trying to change that.
Yeah. Yeah, that education of a general physician is so important, and I think Carla even touched on it too, talking about multiple diseases that cause dementia. I think a lot of the misunderstanding in this space is that you have this disease or that disease, but in fact there are quite a few patients we discover maybe after postmortem that they were in fact living with multiple causes of dementia. I would like to move on to our next clip for the sake of time, make sure that we can save some time at the end too for our clips. But thank you to our panelists for your responses to that one. In our next clip, we'll actually feature Carla and Patrick. Patrick had Lewy body dementia for 6 years, and the clip begins with a pretty challenging moment. Patrick, as we saw in the trailer, had some issues with agitation, and Carla reaches a pretty challenging breaking point in there. But importantly, and what stood out to me personally throughout just this clip and the film, is just how powerful the love is between caregiver and partner. So if we could roll clip 2, please.
What you looking for? Uh-huh. What helps me to just still love on him, I feel compassion for where he was and where he is now. He's still a kind person, still very protective over me when he knows who I am. He's my soulmate. He's my spiritual partner. And that just doesn't go away. So, how you feeling? Did you snap out? What you did?
Most of it, me.
He started having more agitation.
But then what is that?
You ready?
Key. To move, race, switch it. You. Now, can
you what?
Can you go ahead and, I'm tired.
Okay.
I don't like that.
Okay, come on, let's go to the back. Come on, turn around. Come on.
You gonna be up there with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Last time we tried to take a walk, he couldn't do it. We are now confined here in the home. Okay, I'll cover you back up again. I never thought in a million years this is the stage that I would be in at 60 and him 66. He, being the proud man he is, he definitely would have never chosen this for either one of us.
Before we jump into the questions, I just want to say personally, thank you so much, Carla, for your participation in this film and just the pure love that you put on display in this scene in particular, but throughout the film. As somebody who works in this space and just as just as a husband, it is so touching and sets an impossibly high bar. And I really truly moved every time I see this clip. I'd like to start with you. What do you, how do you do it? What do you want other caregivers to know about this experience?
Number one is do not try to do this journey alone.
Hmm.
That's first and foremost. And self-care is not selfish. It's okay, and I say it's a must to care for yourself first so you can be a better caregiver to your partner. Because this journey, it can be quite taxing. It will take you to ends that you didn't know that you can go. So please take care of yourself and do not try to do it alone. I was in several, when I found out, it was definitely Lewy body, I jumped into like 6 different support groups because I didn't know what it was. I was scared. I was frightened. I didn't know what to do. And I got something different from each support group. So definitely get into support group. Do not try to do it alone. Do what you can to take care of your own health, spiritually, mentally, and physically. All of it plays a role in your survival.
And how did you go about finding those support groups?
The social worker, they gave me a social worker. Well, that was one. I went on Facebook and that's how I found the support group with Linda and the other ladies. And that was specific to Lewy body. So I was in 2 different Lewy body support groups, and the other one were just dementia support groups. So I went on Facebook for like 4 of them I found on Facebook.
Okay.
So just type it in, support group, Lewy body, it pops up. Seek and you shall find.
Pam, I know that you agree with the importance of this respite care for caregivers. Could you talk a little bit about how you would recommend people find such resources?
Sure. I think, look wherever you can, Google it, community-based resources, ask people in faith communities, talk to people. Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center has groups and resources, as does CaringKind. Reach out to us. It is really important. I think the 3 things that all caregivers need to do, exactly echoing Carla, find self-care and grounding. There's so little time, but know what grounds you. Even if it's box breathing, a cup of tea while you're looking out the window, a 5-minute dance break, right? These small things are so crucial and important to build into your routine. Don't do it alone, as Carla said, find support groups. And as we saw in the clip, families are wonderful and friends are wonderful, but they often don't understand, not in the same way as other people who are going through it. And that community, there's nothing like it. And hearing and learning from other people who are walking the same path is indispensable. It's absolutely a lifeline for folks. And third, know what gives you confidence as a caregiver, right? Because there are so many unknowns and you have to make so many decisions that you've never planned for, that you never wanted to make. What are those values? What are those anchors that are going to root you and help you know at the end of the day, I did the best I could? I know that, you can't eradicate doubt, but you can think about what are those things. If I'm making decisions based on my values and based on who I know my loved one to be, at the end of the day, I can feel good that I did all that I could. And those 3 things are really, really important in that idea of respite. Getting away for respite, which we'll, I think, see a clip of in just a moment, is really important too. But these are ways that caregivers can support and resource themselves in the day-to-day.
I was going to offer that tease as well, and I don't want to jump yet to our next clip, but you really see the power of support in our final clip today. I also would like to point out that these support groups are so important for the caregivers, but are also a vital resource for the person living with dementia caused by Lewy body or other causes. And those are available as well through the resources that are being shared in the chat. Norma, I'd like to talk with you just a little bit about sort of the arc of the disease, which is a challenge given the roller coaster that we talked about and the ups and downs. But as it progresses to these stages of greater agitation, uh, what do you advise to caregivers about either how they can prepare for it and or what they should be thinking about or considering beyond respite care?
The same as Carla and Pam said, don't try to do this alone. I can tell you from leading support groups, Lewy body support groups for over 15 years, most caregivers, because not everyone is a caregiver. And if you've taken this on, you think you can do everything yourself. I was one of them. And we are there because why? Because we know our loved one the best. And nobody can take care of them the same way. And that part is true. Nobody's going to know the person that you're taking care of in the same way. However, this becomes a full-time job as the disease goes on. No matter how you try for it not to be, you start doing a few things and it becomes more and more and more. And the same way when you saw Carla in the clip taking care of Patrick, it becomes that you're doing every single thing. So anything that your loved one was doing before is now something that you're doing. You're doing 100% of everything. And you really need that help. I can't stress how much and how important it is to be in a support group and Terrence, I'm glad you mentioned that for people who have Lewy body, because it's as difficult for them not to know what's happening in the next moment. They feel one way and then they know it's changing. So having and it's extremely helpful to have those groups and to please know that there are loving CNAs and HHAs, home health aides, who can help. And, we can help with that to try to get recommendations from people because everybody resists because nobody is going to say, I want to open my door and let a stranger come in here. No, nobody's going to say okay to that. Not the person with the disease and not the caregiver. But once you find the right person, it changes your life. It's not easy, but you need it.
Yeah. Now, Carla, we had talked about the support groups and the networks that you had found both virtually and with the other women in this film. But there were some other items just mentioned, even about things as simple as breathing, taking a walk. Did you have any sort of micro respite practices in your own day to day that you found helpful?
Oh, yes, definitely. Mornings, I got up before Patrick would get up. I would get up and exercise on my own. And then when I would get him up, I would exercise again with him. But when he would have moments, I would, well, you'll see in the film when you see it, but I would get away and come back here in this back room and do deep breathing for myself. I also practice grounding, going outside and putting my feet on the ground and just inhaling and letting the sun just beam on me. Also, I would stretch, do yoga, just get away and just do some of those things on my own or with Patrick because he enjoyed working out with me. So make sure you drink plenty of water. That makes a world of difference. Eating the right foods. It makes a world difference of how much you can endure because it's definitely a journey, but you will make it.
And how did you maintain your patience and compassion throughout all of this? It's just that you were so calm in these moments of great stress. And did you have to sort of convince yourself of anything, or was it these respite practices kind of balanced yourself out?
For the most part, the respite about practices definitely did help, but there are times it's going to come because you have that but what is it at 5 o'clock when they start going
The sundowning.
Sundowning, yeah.
sundowning, when they have that, or then Patrick, he got up in the middle of the night. I had to start sleeping in another room because he would wake up. That would wake me up. If I don't get sleep, my patients are shot. And one particular moment, I definitely had a moment and I exploded and I caught myself and I just walked out of the room and I came in here and just sat and just did some deep breathing. And, I had to tell myself, this is not Patrick. This is the disease. So, even though with all those practices where, I did everything right. Not, as much as I knew how to do, for myself with my faith, practicing. I'm still, actually, I was in therapy then, I'm still in therapy, just someone to talk it out with. A lot of us don't want to go through therapy, and it's so vital to your journey, along with the therapy sessions with your fellow caregivers, or someone that has already gone through it. But I constantly practice and dance. Just dancing is a great exercise. So dance with your partner and make them laugh, and learn to laugh at yourself and as well with them, and encourage them. When they laugh, you laugh with them. Whatever story they have, you get into their story with them and laugh at that story. If they see a monkey swinging, what's that monkey doing up there? Come on down here. You get in the story with them and laugh about it and then deflect. So it's all kind of little, and then self-care fib. I was just sharing with someone the other day, you have to self-care fib. There's something like my husband, he was having a moment and I could not get him off he wanted his driver's license. He wanted to buy a car. I told him, I said, babe, let's call Dr. Lai, because he'll tell you that once we get your brain back together, you can get your license. Called a friend of mine, Dr. Lai. Hi, this is Carla and Patrick Prayer. My friend was like, Carla, this is so-and-so. I said, I know, Dr. Lai. Could you talk to your patient and let him know why he doesn't have a license? He went right into character. He was so good, I believed him. So self-care fibbing, God will forgive you if you really think he's going to frown on you for that. But you have to do that to maintain, different moments in this journey.
Yeah. And we do have to move on to our next clip, but Pam, I think we have a great question in the chat that I'd like to pass to you, where somebody asks about, is it unrealistic to still work and have a life? Could you talk a little bit about that, just that caregiving balance of time, and sort of well, how do people decide that they don't have the caregiving as their full-time role now?
This is such an individual question. So everybody has different resources, different bandwidth, different personality, different circumstances, different family supports, right? So it's a really individual question, I think, and it can be different at different stages of the dementia as well. So as Norma said earlier, and we saw in the film, as people progress, they're going to need total care at some point. For people, especially more with Alzheimer's disease, but also with Lewy body in earlier on, very often they're able to be very independent for a period of time, so that they may need some reminders, some moderate caregiving, but not yet the total caregiving that you see, in the clips of the film. So it is possible for caregivers to be able to work, to do other things, to have a life. I think even when people progress, having those supports, having aides, some people decide that they really aren't able to care for a person at home. It's a very difficult decision. But again, these are very personal decisions, and things are, we're talking to a caregiver today who is saying, I'm 5 feet tall. My husband is close to 6 feet tall. I can't do it. I physically can't care for him at home, and made the decision to put him in a long-term care facility because that was the right decision for them to be able to sustain care.
Yeah.
So
Great. Well, thank you so much. All right, I'd like to move to our last clip, and I have to say in advance, this may be my favorite scene from the whole film, and you'll see why. It has emotional extremes here, but what you'll see here are Carla and Linda and other women from the caregiver support group flying in from opposite sides of the country to meet in person and have a weekend away from their caregiving responsibilities. So if we could turn to clip 3, please.
Hello, ladies.
Oh, finally meet.
Welcome.
Cute.
All right, girls.
So what are we toasting to, ladies?
Cheers.
The sisterhood.
Sisterhood.
Girls trip.
Cheaper than therapy.
Therapy. Okay.
Take another sip, because I would like you to share with us in person the story you shared on Zoom. Go ahead, do it. I can't wait to see it.
So one day, we sit down, we're watching this cougar town. Well, this 60-year-old cougar walks up to the 40-year-old cougar and said, if you're gonna be a cougar, you need to take some yoga classes. She walks up to the guy at the club, throws her ankle up on the shoulder with no problem. Patrick looks at me and says, you've been doing yoga. What can you do? I said, I'm sure I can get to your shoulder with you sitting right there on the bed. I went whack.
Oh,
I knocked the daylight. He went back. Bam! He hit the back of the bed. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
Here, honey, you deserve
Yeah.
this. You deserve
Yeah,
a couple
I
of
do.
those.
Okay.
That was good. Thank you.
Oh, my goodness.
Thank you for that entertainment.
Cheers.
Oh, my goodness.
God. I miss being this person. I haven't been this person in quite a long time.
You know, I thought about playing charades about what we've communicated the past couple of days. What you guys got?
Well, we did this.
I'm done. Oh my God. You're crazy.
Scared. 1, 2, 3. Oh my God.
That is awesome! I can't even imagine going through this without you guys.
I'm taking you home with me, I'm just saying. I borrowed a big suitcase and you're gonna be.
Oh my goodness.
I'm just hoping that I can take this energy home with me, because you feel like you're in a boxing ring and say, okay, come on, I got this. I can carry him through this. And then you see another thing, it's like, bam, you know, and it kind of knocks you down, you got to get back up, okay. And now Patrick's awake time is shrinking. So I realized this is progressing. Oh my God.
I have to think in my mind, I'm like, is this really true? Because I can't believe other people have ever made it through this. Every day there's new grief.
Yeah.
Every day.
It's
something
Every
learned.
day. And it's just hitting me that I'm going back to that tomorrow. I'm going back to the reality. And what if I'm not strong enough to do it? Got to walk over the coals to get to the other side, unfortunately, and we're like right in the middle of the coals.
We're right under the fire right now. It's under our feet.
Yeah, I'm suffocating. He would be there for me and would never be like this. And the thought of going home, this is how I feel when I walk in my house. I feel like I can't even breathe.
Something my mom always said, this too shall pass. Take a deep breath. We got you. Breathe.
What a powerful moment from that. Both, I mean, for the full extremes of emotion there. I get such a kick out of the scene on the boat, and then how quickly things turn to the conversation on the couch there. Norma, we had talked earlier about finding resources wherever you can, and Carla even spoke about just going on Facebook. Pam mentioned, hop on Google and see wherever you can find. Cast a wide net is what it sounded like. How, for better or worse, how has the digital age really changed the connections caregivers can make in this space?
It certainly has helped. As I mentioned earlier, with leading the support groups in New York City in person. And then we started meeting by Zoom. And I was sharing information in person because I had mentioned before, my mom had this disease for 18 years, which is long and not the norm. And I had all this information. And then when we started meeting on Zoom, I can tell you that not only were we meeting locally, and people can find us online, and people can find us on Facebook and Instagram, but we now have support groups and they are available nationwide in the US, but also we have international support group because people, and I can tell you that in every single group, there is someone, and usually more than one, who will say, I can't wait to be in this meeting. I can't tell you how important it is to me because nobody else understands, and you're like my family. Nobody understands it in the same way. I had someone in the international group from Argentina say, this is where I can come with my sadness because in other places they can't. So to answer your question, it has helped enormously to be able to find us and all the support online in a much better way, and particularly for people with Lewy body, because the group we have nationally and internationally is for them as well, a separate group. They've never met another person with Lewy body, and it's so completely different and helpful to them to meet others.
Yeah, we talk about at the Penn Memory Center the sort of the unique duality of having dementia or caring for someone, in that it is an incredibly unique experience that many other people are having. That your day to day may be completely different, but at least it's in the same genre as the other members of the support group, what their lives are like.
Yes.
Pam, I'd like to turn that to you too. I mean, we talk about respite care, and it's sort of easy to rattle off the importance and give examples, but it, I think this clip summarizes it better than any other, just how important and what a release it can be to be in these groups. Is that familiar with what you have seen with caregivers?
Oh, absolutely. The moment that really struck me was the moment where Linda says, I miss being this person. I miss this. And for so many caregivers, caregiving becomes their full identity. And in the support groups, they can be something else again. They can be themselves. They can, share their truth. We had one caregiver say, I felt invisible because even my loved ones would say, how's your husband? And wouldn't really even ask how I was doing anymore. Right. And so to be seen, to be understood in these kinds of support groups is crucial. And then being able to understand yourself as more than just a caregiver, right? A dancer, a chef, a cook, a yogi, a bowler, a nature lover, right? To connect with different parts of your identity throughout the process is going to keep you grounded and is also going to help prepare for the inevitable loss, right? Grief is such a huge part of this, and having a place where you can name grief. There's anticipatory grief, ambivalent, ambiguous loss, right? Where the person is changing right in front of you and they're there, but they're not there. They're not the same person. And you're mourning the loss of your husband as you were, Carla, mourning the loss of this relationship that you had in the way that you had it before. So being able to identify yourself, see yourself in a role other than a caregiver is also going to start setting you up for when the person passes and you're no longer a caregiver. It's one of the hardest things to talk about, but it's really crucial and vital that people are able to start identifying that in some ways. And at CaringKind, we have a group particularly called Passages for that pre-loss grief and preparation.
And Carla, I'd like to turn it to you with that. Your relationship with Linda is so beautiful as well, because you pivot so quickly from telling this hilarious story over a glass of wine to immediately providing comfort and wisdom on the couch. I'm sure those weren't as close to each other in real time as they were in the film, how were you using this group and this sense of humor to not only manage the day to day as an active caregiver, but sort of manage this ambiguous loss that Pam describes?
You know, one, my personality is, I do use humor. Using humor is huge. And when you are with other women that are going through the exact same thing, you can use another level sense of humor. You can go to places that you would share in the group that you wouldn't share outside because they would think, oh my God, they would not understand how sometimes you go dark in your humor. But if you're in it, you understand that level. Just being with others that understand it, we're able to comfort in other ways. There are times that I felt comforted in comforting others, as you saw with me and Linda. I saw the pain she was in. It's a thing called caregivers high, or self-care high. When you help others, that really makes you not look at yourself so much when you're able to care for others in that moment. Again, the different groups that I was in, it really empowered me. I didn't feel so alone like I did in the very beginning. I mean, I literally was scared because I just knew dementia, and all I knew was loss, memory loss. And then getting in this group, I was educated, so I felt better prepared to go through this journey with my husband.
And how have the support groups and the connections that you've made with these women and the others that you've discovered through other resources, how have those relationships changed after the passing of loved ones?
We still stay in contact. They definitely, we all have our own journey. We'll hear, call each other, see how we're doing. Linda is still doing her podcast. I'm doing self-care advocacy. Another one is doing grief support. And the other one, she is definitely into the medical world. But, we chime in and get together. I talk to Linda the most because we're still in a group together, which helps because being a widow, that's another, actually, we don't even call ourselves widows. We call ourselves the graduates because it has a upper, more of a positive or upbeat title. Widow sounds dark, and we're not trying to live a dark life. We're trying to live and let live because that's what life is for, the living. So yeah, it makes a difference to come and connect with others that are in the journey that you're in.
Well, I think that is a powerful and profound place to leave our panel here today. There have been a lot of questions in the chat that we're just simply not going to have time for, but a lot of them I know are answered through the Lewy Body Dementia Resource Center and CarkingKind. So I strongly advise that you check the links in the chat to access those resources. I have some closing remarks, but before I do, first, I want to say thank you to Pam and Norma and Carla for your efforts today, and Carla for all of those incredibly powerful moments in the film. So thank you deeply, truly.
You.
As a reminder, Facing the Wind is going to be on PBS stations across the country beginning in June, and you can find your broadcast on your local PBS listings. It'll be available on the PBS website and on the PBS app for free. That'll be beginning in June. If you follow Facing the Wind on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and so on, you'll be able to find those information, get those precise release dates. As mentioned earlier, the film has a discussion and education guide, information and resources and activities, a social media toolkit, a discussion guide. They're all available as PDF and for free. So you can go to facingthewindfilm.com, look for the resources page. You can print these out, share with those in your community and your family. And once again, thank you so much, Pam, Norma, Carla, and thank you everyone for inviting me to moderate today. I hope you all have a great day.
Thank you.
You.